Human trafficking can happen everywhere. A lot of times it's right in front of your face in your neighborhood. The best thing that the general public can do to help victims is to be aware of your surroundings. I'm Jessica, and I'm a special agent assigned to the FBI's Human Trafficking Unit at headquarters. I've been interested in working human trafficking cases since I was in college. I think it's an important and sometimes overlooked crime, and I like working the victim aspect. It feels like I'm helping others and making an impact and getting to put people that do these heinous crimes in jail. Human trafficking victims most of the time do not come forward on their own. I've had cases where the trafficker would threaten to call law enforcement to report them for crimes that they did, or to get them deported, or take away their child, or reach out to their families and threaten their families too. There's also times when this is all the victims know. They don't look at themselves as victims. We're finding these victims through reports from local law enforcement or tips from the general public, which is why it's so important to be aware of your surroundings. And if you do see something that you feel is human trafficking, to report it to the FBI or your local law enforcement. That is a big misconception here. I know that it's in social media a lot. There is human trafficking victims that are in the airports, but a lot of times, especially when it comes to minors, they're not being trafficked through the airport just because it is so difficult to get a minor on an airplane without an adult. Victims often work in the area that they were born in. And if traffickers are transporting the victims, a lot of times they'll be transported by train, by bus, by subway, or even the trafficker's vehicle. That is not the main way that traffickers recruit their victims. A lot of times traffickers will recruit through social media, which is probably the biggest way. They'll also recruit in public places like malls, outside of schools, train stations, metro stations, areas like that. If it does happen, the FBI does investigate kidnappings, and we'll work with our local partners to follow through on those cases too, but a majority of the human trafficking victims are not recruited that way. A majority of our cases do involve female victims, but we also have cases involving male victims. We have investigations involving people of all genders, races, and ages. That's why we encourage, if you do feel like you are a victim of human trafficking, please come forward. There's sex trafficking and labor trafficking, and sometimes they can overlap. And I think a lot of people are more aware of the sex trafficking aspect of it, but we also have labor trafficking victims here too. Basically, forced to do work to either repay a debt, domestic servitude. A lot of times these victims will have their passports withheld, their paychecks will be withheld, their documents will be withheld. They're working in harsh conditions. They may live with their trafficker. Most people who are being labor trafficked are from out of the country. They're in a place they're unfamiliar with. They don't know anybody, and a lot of times these people are too scared to come out of the situation because they have nowhere else to go. There's a lot that the general public can do to help with human trafficking. I think one of the main things is just be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what's being posted on social media. Be aware of who your children are talking to. If you see something, don't be afraid to report it. A lot of times there are people that work in your neighborhood stores or go to your schools or work in businesses around you, and they're being trafficked in the same area where they grew up or where they went to school or where their family members live. A lot of our cases come to us through tips from the public, through local law enforcement. If you want to learn more ways to identify human trafficking and report it, go to fbi.gov/human trafficking.